Hello everybody, welcome back to ArcheAge Inspiration, as I'm apparently looking in the back of my wrist. My name is Cilantro. Today's rolls are 1, 6, and 8. So let's see what the Priestess of Nui has for us today. That would be Battle Rage, Witchcraft, and Archery. Let's see what that gives us. That will turn us into a Dreadhunter. Sounds pretty sweet. Okay, so the way I chose to pursue the build of the Dreadhunter is sort of along the lines of a Dreambreaker. So Dreambreaker is Witchcraft, Defense, and Oromancy. And Dreambreaker works by basically never letting the opponent play. He tries to keep control of the fight through all of his CC chaining and otherwise just overall defensiveness. Now you can't quite do that to the extreme degree, but when I was messing around with this just a minute ago, having tooled around with it for a little bit, that's more or less how I played it. I played it like that sort of style. And I think the build that I chose kind of leans towards that. So Archery is the smallest component here. We pick up a few things, mostly for their combo abilities. Charge Bolt does a decent amount of damage and is slow, which you can use for Pursuit, of course. The slow is important to combo with Whirlwind Slash, which gives you a trip. There's a few other options for the slow. For example, if you decide to include Sunder Earth, after you trip somebody, Sunder Earth, and then Charge Bolt will stun. There's lots of extra combinations between Battle Rage and Archery, actually. Concussive Arrow is picked up because it's a very awesome ability, high damage, and has a Shackle, 3.5 seconds Shackle, which has some really good synergy with Purge and Witchcraft, which I'll get to here in a second. And then, of course, the 8% move speed. The first passive of Archery provides quite a bit. In addition, I would say this build probably plays very similar to a Outrider. Outrider is Archery, Battle Rage, Shadow Play. And also similar to, I think it's the Shadow Blade, which is Battle Rage, Witchcraft, Shadow Play. So Archery in this particular build kind of replaces what Shadow Play would otherwise do for you. So you do lose out on a little bit of mobility and stealth, of course, but you do get some extra crowd control chaining as well as the amazing Concussive Arrow and the potential to switch out for even some other things. You know, I could see Snare being very useful for this, Piercing Shot, possibly even Endless Arrows. And then maybe some possible other passives. For example, the evasion rate, 8% evasion rate, the extra range if you need it, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a few options here to go more deep into Archery, but the Witchcraft and Battle Rage packages are pretty standard, nothing too outlandish here. The typical arrangement of Witchcraft things that we pick up. If you could sneak in an Insidious Whisper, of course it would be good, and there's nothing wrong with Dreadhunter's Breath in this style of build. Just for the simple knockback and the amount of damage it does, it's worth it to have an extra cooldown if at all possible. I do envision this build probably wearing leather, possibly cloth, possibly plate, so just on the off chance I went ahead and picked up Mitigation. You can always switch that out for something else, possibly Magic Detection. Augment Witchcraft is pretty much mandatory if you're going to play a Witchcraft build. It's really hard not to just put all your points into Witchcraft when you have it available because it's just so good. And then sort of the standard Battle Rage stuff here, Triple Slash and Charge. Whirlwind is usually paired with Sunder Earth, but since we have a slow from Archery's Charge Bolt, we kind of skip it here. Tiger Strike for extra maneuverability, Bond Breaker for its usual goodness, Persistent Strike for the damage as needed, Battle Focus, Dual Wield Proficiency, Puncture, Reckless Charge. This is all pretty standard stuff. Nothing too crazy, nothing too outlandish here. But as with a lot of the builds that I've done where I take a sort of classic archetype and throw a little bit of a deviation to it, the devil's in the details, and there's a few really cool things that this build can do that I don't think any or really many other builds can do. Oh, I actually got a red here farming. That's kind of odd. And the first and foremost, if I can speak, is the combination between Concussive Arrow and Purge. Purge is a really handy ability. Not only does it remove a buff from somebody or buff yourself by cleansing something and increasing your magic defense, but it also toggles between shackle and silence. If a target is silenced, they become shackled, and if they're shackled, they become silenced, which is very, very handy. So the way you can apply this is in tandem with some of the longer crowd control effects that you get from Witchcraft. So for example, just to start things off here, I'm going to use a bubble trap on this giant, so he is now trapped for quite a long time. If this is a player, I think it's about 8 seconds on a player, but a decent amount of time. So now what you can do is you can gain your position, you can pop any cooldowns you want to, and then you can open up with a concussive arrow and follow it up immediately with the purge as soon as the concussive arrow lands. That gets the combination, and you're given about 4 seconds of relative inactivity by your opponent. There's nothing you can do, nothing your opponent can really do other than move. Being silenced and shackled is just about as good as being just utterly incapacitated, being stunned. There's very little else that you would otherwise have to deal with. Otherwise, most of the combos here are fairly standard stuff. I'll go over these here very briefly as I go through. You do have to watch out for diminishing returns on snares, especially if you combo them a little bit too much. That's actually one of the reasons that I didn't end up picking up Deflect and Retaliate. Otherwise, because of the nature of how many different abilities would be required, and you're not really reliant on your Battle Rage for your total damage package. I would definitely recommend using a high damage, a high magic damage weapon and dual wield with this build. You could possibly even use a staff, but I think it's best to wait till the obsidian weapons come out and you can actually get true hybrid melee / caster weapons, because there's no reason to denounce the amount of damage you're going to be doing with things like Enervate and Earthen Grip. So just as a quick option to show the sort of full combo path that I like to always show with these types of builds. Initiation will probably be with Enervate. You can then charge to close the gap. By that time, Enervate will land. You can then get a really nice Earthen Grip off. This will actually trigger both combinations, so you'll actually get the damage boost from the top one and the magic damage returned as health from the bottom one. So very nice burst of damage initially. You can then follow up with any amount of CC chaining. Since they are snared, you can go right into a triple slash that will trip the target. While they're tripped, you can fire a charge bolt and then use whirlwind slash for another trip. You can always mix this up as well if you wish, if you can find another way to get slow, or otherwise just want to rearrange a few of these elements. You get an extra duration of tripped effect from this if they are enervated, which you do have enervate, thankfully. Focal concussion is always also a good initiator. Generally, good initiation can involve focal concussion into Banshee Wail, which gives you full crowd control. The stun will catch anybody off guard that you wish, to get them off of you, and you can immediately follow up with Banshee Wail and fear them if they don't have any way to get around that. And as I mentioned before, this is a perfect lead-in to a hard crowd control, followed by your concussive arrow into Purge. And of course I mistimed it, did it a little too quickly, so make sure you don't want to do that. That's really all I had to say about this combination. I did do a bunch of farming in Hassla today. I actually got 5 items done, or at least 5 items upgraded. Number of tier 1 and tier 2 items, so my gearing options are getting much better already in terms of trying to show certain things off and actually show their viability in more active situations. I still want to keep the videos, of course, pretty brief, but hopefully I'll be able to at least show more accurate numbers on exactly what is possible. But that's really all I had to say about this very interesting combination, the Dreadhunter. When level cap 55 hits, this has got a lot more options. You can pick up Snare, again, more abilities in archery, possibly endless arrows if you want to be able to do a little bit of damage while you're moving around more. Insidious Whisper, Dehuda's Breath, Sunder Earth, possibly even Frenzy for the big boost to both physical and magical damage. Tons of options around. The choice is yours. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.